Hey everyone, this is Grant Beggs from the Schumacher Beggs team at Sothebys in San Francisco. What's been really interesting in the last, I'd say, 3 to 4 weeks, we've had a number of folks come to us who are looking to purchase a home. And what's changed for them is with COVID-19 shelter in place, they're really rethinking what home looks like and means to them. Part of that, I think, is a little bit more control. So as tenants, it's a little more difficult to make changes to the place you live. You always literally, I think, are worried about, well, I have to move out at some point. Or just, I want more space because I work from home, or I want a private yard or things like that. So I thought I would spend just 2 minutes and we can talk about what things in the San Francisco market buyers need to do in advance in order for us to write an offer. So the first one is pre-approval with a lender. Now, that's important for a couple of reasons. One of them is you want the lender to look through your file and make sure that there's nothing in there that would be a surprise to you, and essentially ultimately to them, that would not let you get a loan. So sometimes people have something in their credit report that's inaccurate or a problem or a mistake that can limit your ability or cost you more money from an interest rate. You also want to make sure you understand what documentation you're going to require. Now that everyone's working from home, most companies have all the documentation online, but sometimes you need something else. And do you have all that documentation ready to go to submit to the lender? Third is, what's it going to cost you? So we've all heard about interest rates coming down. Are you looking at a single family home or a condo, a co-op, a TIC, a multi-unit building? Different properties may result in different interest rates, and different lenders will have different interest rates based on, is it a 5-year locked rate, 7-year, 10-year, is it a 30-year interest only? And so this will give you an opportunity to see what the costs look like. Our advice is always it's good to know what the lender will give you. That doesn't mean you necessarily want to take all of that amount of money. It really comes down to, for you, what's that monthly cash outlay that makes the most sense. So that's number one, is to do that. Second is, I think, is to get really clear about what you're looking for in your home. So one of the first things we do when we sit down with you is to talk about kind of what kind of house did you grow up in? What did you like about it? When you think about your dream home, what's involved? We'll also build a must list. So what are the must things for you? And for some people, that's parking. And what are your wish lists? So some people, they want their own private outdoor space, or they want an eat-in kitchen, or they want, X, Y, and Z. So we go through and prioritize based on that. And that allows us to, again, you know how much you can borrow. You've already had a conversation with lenders, so you can move quickly. We've had a really clear conversation about what you're looking for. And the third thing then we like to do is we call the grand tour. And that's where we go, and it's a little more difficult to do today during shelter in place. But in theory, what we'll do is we'll drive around and look at different neighborhoods to see, because there may be neighborhoods you aren't familiar with, Lake District, Mira Loma Park, St. Francis Wood, different neighborhoods that allow you to live differently, but may actually allow you to get more for your money than neighborhoods you've been looking at. So we go through all that up front, even really before we look at the first property together. That way, when we find your perfect home, we're ready to go. I'd say the first thing we also like to do is to go through the key legal documents that you'll sign as part of an offer. What we don't want to have happen is we find your perfect home, and then within a 24-hour period, we have to get you pre-qualified with a lender. We have to then go through all the legal documents so you can see what's required. It's a lot to digest, as well as then make a decision on how much to offer. So we'll sit down with you and go through, here's what the purchase contract looks like. Here's what the clauses mean. Here's what they're asking. And then that way, when the day comes to make the offer, there's a little less confusion and a lot of stuff has already been really buttoned up. And the last thing I will say on this, we've had this come up before, is when you purchase a house in San Francisco, traditionally, you would put 3% of the deposit, 3% of the purchase price as the deposit within, really 2 business days with escrow. We've had issues in the past where clients have said, oh gosh, that money is in X account. It's going to take me 5 days to get that money out. This becomes a problem because if you go into contract, if after those 2 days the money is not in escrow, the seller can turn around and give you a notice to perform to put that money into escrow, or the contract can be voided. So again, what you want to do is make sure that you have the funds ready for the deposit sitting before we make an offer, so that you can actually complete that first part of the transaction. So a lot of steps, but we do this a lot, and we actually make sure we sit down with you, the buyer, to ensure that it's all buttoned up. So the focus is really not on the paperwork and the financial part. That's taken care of up front. Then we get into the fun part of actually looking for your house, finding your dream home, and negotiating to get you it at the price that you want. And we do that really well. So we just put another client in contract, closing next Friday. Super excited for them. We do this with clients in a way that I think makes the experience enjoyable, successful, and ultimately one that they look back and are happy in the home they get into. So any questions about what it's like to buy in San Francisco, please do not hesitate to reach out. Give us a call. Again, this is Grant Beggs from the Schumacher Beggs team at Sotheby's in San Francisco. Thanks, everyone.